Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. Today, I have a little less energy. I'm feeling a little melancholy today, and I brought along a friend of mine, Dr. Alex Harris, who I have known for probably 6 years. Is
I think
that
it's
right?
been about 6 years, yes.
Right when you were at the beginning of the Arts Conservatory.
Yes.
That was and it's amazing how far it's come. I'm going to introduce Alex in just a moment. Before I do, I have all of his bio. I have been promoting as much as I could before we get started. I've already gotten a bunch of text messages from people about you coming on. Somebody thought you were a therapist, which I think is great. You are a therapist. You're a musical therapist,
Oh,
um,
yeah.
right?
I would
But
say
you would say yes.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I would agree. I think this could be a new title, musical therapist.
Like it.
So I want to tell everybody why I was really pulled to reach out to Alex because it happened this morning. I put a guest off that I had planned for today. I read Alex's post last night, and one simple statement stood out to me that I could not reach out. And he said, "To be silent is consent." And I am referring to George Floyd, and I am never really one to speak out about much except for mental health, or actually, I do speak out for a lot. I'm a huge ally for Equality Florida. But to be silent is consent really, really got me. Um, I'm going to read one more post because all I needed to see was Alex Harris posting. And I was like, oh my God, I have to talk to him. So he put up a quote from Benjamin Franklin: "Justice will not be served until those who are unaffected are as outraged as those who are." I never heard that quote before, but it put me in a real state this morning. So I'm so glad you're here with me, Alex. I
Thank
want,
you so much for having me. I appreciate
yeah,
the opportunity.
please take the time to just share your whatever it is that you feel pulled to share.
Sure. Well, thank you. I just before we started, the when we got on to check in with each other, and one of the things that I shared with you, and I would love to share with your audience, is when I Monday, I think it was Monday and or was it Tuesday and Wednesday? Because today is Thursday. I
We
get
know none of us know what day it is. Go ahead.
So Tuesday and Thursday, I never felt, while I'm aware and I've been a part of various forums when we talk about racism, I've participated, many things locally as well as on a national scale. I've often asked questions. I've spoke about it at, in front of large audiences, small audiences, and but Tuesday and Wednesday was a little different. And I saw one of my friends post something where someone had said that, why, what's the outrage about? I mean, yes, we know racism exists. It's almost like get over it, don't worry about it. And that again pierced me in a way, on top of how I was already feeling. And I think it has to do is twofold. One is there is already so much going on, right? And in the world, and so much uncertainty with the pandemic, and as you alluded to earlier, that we have the organization, we have a lot of things going on with families, and my focus has been very much like yours when it comes to really advocating for those who are less fortunate. It's one thing to be uh, black in America, with the history that America has around those of darker pigmentation, and and the struggles that have occurred around that. It's another thing that in the 21st century, to just not have the access to the resources. So when I came here, I wanted to help to uh, be an advocate for equity as well as equality. And so I've done that through my gift, and my gift is music, and also sharing and speaking and coming up with ways to bring about equity, to bring about equality. I started on the south side of St. Petersburg, one of the most uh, in the general in the larger scope of thing, the poorer side. I should say pockets of South Side because it's pretty huge. But what like it was called Midtown, the name that changed just before I started to work over there. But I say that to say that this experience of watching the video of George Floyd, and I was part of the rallies with Trayvon and all of that. But this one hit. It was almost like, and I've seen people, and you may have seen it on some folks' posts as well. Enough is enough. I
Mm.
think that we have to get over whatever the illness, the sickness, or this dis-ease that we are feeling, about someone who is human as we are. And I think we have to not be silent, whether or not, especially those who are not African American or not Latino Hispanic. I think it's very important for those individuals to speak out, to post about it. And also, I thought this morning, even the religious community, I don't care if you, I said Jesus wasn't like that, Muhammad wasn't like that, the Buddha wasn't like, they were about peace and love. So regardless of if you're religious or not religious, but I specifically wanted to say to the people who ascribe to some kind of faith, those who were the leaders of the faith were were prejudiced. In fact, Jesus spoke out against prejudice when he met the woman at the well in the Samaritan. He was against that, and for the Jewish community and the history of the Jews and the Ten Commandments, love thy neighbor as thyself. So if you ascribe to any of the faith, if you have any of these, we should be speaking out against it. And I participated at many churches, blacks, whites, and different synagogues, and so on and so forth. And I think we will start to see change when we start to see everyone speak out against it, against the nonsense of hating someone simply because the person on the outside looks different than you. And this extends beyond just racism. It also, I don't want to get too far on outside of racism, but it also extends into other isms that we face as well. The same way we advocate for the other isms, we must advocate against racism. And that's when we are human beings. I wrote a song about 5 or 6 years ago that talks about lenses of love. And the essence of the song saying that at the beginning, the middle, and the end of the day, we are all the same inwardly. And that is a proven fact when it comes to diseases like cancers and diabetes and so many different other diseases that inflict our bodies in some way or another or make us ill. It doesn't discriminate. We discriminate in the workplace. We discriminate in politics. We discriminate in faith communities. So it's just really something that I felt extremely exhausted, right? With the
Yes.
idea or concept is like, when you see folks like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and all these folks 50 years ago and more, talking about the same things, it's almost like we have, taken 100 steps backwards. I just read a posting of an article that it was called Red Summer, or something that is unfortunately, is in the American history that anyone should be proud of. And that had to do in 1919, so it's a little over 100 years ago. And it was when the white mobs were lynching and setting black folks on fire and burning down the businesses and stuff. And so you may not see that exactly happening, but in other ways it is happening, at least to my knowledge. You may not see it happening. So my point is, I think that people say, what can I do, Alex? I see people posting, I saw your post, etc. What can I do? How can I not be silent? I say, well, I think change happens one with our mindset and our daring to not be silent. That's number one. Number two, and action and taking actionable steps to change is to encourage your friends, your colleagues, if they feel something or see something in their workspace, in their neighborhoods, you have to say something. You
Yeah.
have to be the change that you want to experience, and that's where it starts. And number three, we have to really look on a bigger scale to really start to tear apart those policies that are in place that the reason why people can hide into workforces such as the law enforcement, because there are good people in every industry, I believe. There are bad people in every industry, but I do believe, and I'm a strong believer, and and I choose to believe that there is much more good than evil. And I think that we can overcome the evil within us, overcome the evil within our society, the evil within our world by really encouraging and daring to express goodness by the choices we make when it comes to how we love our neighbor. And one of the hashtags I used was love is not silent. I was like, so if you love someone, you don't keep it to yourself in any relationship or any
That
situation.
is correct.
So,
Yay, flipping men.
so
Oh, hey.
if you love me, then say something. I'm gonna write a song about that.
You should. Can you put a flipping men somewhere in there too?
I'll put it in there.
Thank you.
I'll give you the credit. So, so the main thing is that we have to be very vocal about it. And people say, well, what about the folks that are you've seen it uh, what they were doing, throwing stuff and uh, breaking the glass and the windows of the police cars, etc. I said, well, those folks unfortunately are so marginalized and so disempowered, so disenfranchised that their behavior is very much like a baby. When a baby hasn't learned the language, isn't in a position to make uh, the decisions that he or she wants to happen for her or him, then they are kicking, they're screaming, and we're trying as adults trying to figure out what are you saying, why are you doing. There's something going on. There's something that they want to happen. There's something that is hurting often. There's something that's hurting, or there's just something that they want to happen to change the course and where they are. And that's what you see when people are disenfranchised, when they're pushed to the margins of society and they feel voiceless, they feel hopeless. And we who are in positions to make change, to offer hope, not just in some really nice speech, and for all the folks in the faith community in some scripture or passage or a sermon, for those who are speakers and some inspiration. It must be something that extends itself beyond words into something that is felt, that is experienced from the soul into each person's everyday life. I should be able to walk out and anywhere I go and feel comfortable. I should be able to converse with anyone, regardless of the face that they have, whether they are white or black or Latino, Hispanic, Indian, Asian. Uh, it doesn't matter what part of the world or what origin someone is from. We are all human beings, and that's the way we should treat each other and love. You don't have to. No one has to be my favorite person, or vice versa. You don't have to be my favorite personality, right? But I think the respect for humanity is where I think we should all seek to embrace and understand. And that's the reason why we don't need one person being silent about any inhumane behavior towards another human being, regardless regardless of the color of their skin, the socioeconomic status, right? Where they reside, where their neighborhood is. We have to love. It's very important for us to love each other, not just in our own minds, and not just cool behind the scenes.
Or she knows I love her.
Yes, she knows I love it. I'm not a
I
racist.
do.
You know, I'm not a racist. I got a black friend. He cuts.
Right. That's my favorite thing to hear.
I got a, so I think that we have to be, and no one has to be of your inner circle, but I do think something is to be said when you can't. I was in a forum about racism, and I'm obviously in your top 5.
Yeah,
Your
you
favorite
are.
5. You used to have that on T-Mobile. I don't know if you ever. I don't know what other phone carrier that they had it, but they had like your favorite 5 back. Like a few years ago. Anyway, so I was in this forum, and the guy who was facilitating, he said, okay, so I want everyone to do something. Who are your, top, who are your favorite 5? Like, who are in your top favorite? And he said, if it doesn't look inclusive, then something is seriously wrong with your quote unquote top 5. But it doesn't, and you can't blame, the adult or our colleagues or whomever for that. And I'll tell you why. This starts early on, right? And
Yes.
so one of the things that we did was our organization, my foundation. As an artist, I've seen this, and I've been so many places early on when I was a teenager with my brothers, and we've been in all kind of forums, conversations, performing, etc. And we did all this while we were every summer we were away extensively. But I realized that, even coming from a small town, very little access, and our parents, they're working class, educators, so they were not from a rich situation. We just made ends meet, right? But our parents believed in investing into us in ways that they the best they could. And so that was our fortunate opportunity and a blessing as well. So the one thing I realized that every child didn't even have what I had. Parents who, even if a parent cares, sometimes they don't understand how to express that or how to facilitate their caring in such way, help that child excel. So I realized that I was in, I was privileged with education to make that. And one lady spoke at this, she wrote a paper, and I was looking for her name, and I'm horrible with names a lot of time, but she wrote a paper, and I do remember that part. The title was called Dear White People. Are you familiar with that?
No, no, no. I want to hear it. I want to know what she's saying to dear white people.
She did a presentation on her book, I'm sorry. and if you have any people who go to Chautauqua, they would know what I'm talking about. Listening, I spoke at Chautauqua Institute last year. Stacey Abrams was one of the 9 speakers.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Be a part of that forum. The 9th week during Winter Marsalis. But anyway, she spoke earlier that the day before I did at the Hall of Philosophy, and she talked about privilege. I've heard people speak about this and understand. And she said this privileges. You have multiple privileges, right? And and she was speaking specifically to white privilege. And then she said, then you have gender privilege, right? You have intellectual privilege based on what you had access to and opportunity to. And I think when people realize that there are multiple privileges that people have, I think we have to realize the privilege that we have in a society and utilize our privilege to bring about equity and equality, right? There are certain things each person has, each person is privileged to, that we have to use our space to make for the other, right? And so I realized that my privilege was that I had both my parents. Everyone doesn't have, we have a lot of folks who only have one parent. And even if that parent is not, even that one parent, in some situations, that parent isn't as present as he or she may want to be due to circumstances. It is what it is. So I say that too in these situations that in America, there is a such thing as white privilege. And when it's nothing that it's nothing that necessarily I can't help who I am and you can't help who you are, but when you both in a position, right? I didn't choose to have both of my parents. It happened that way, and I was put in a privileged situation of having both of my parents, and now I've used that to help thousands of students, right? And no, I don't understand what it is, what it feels like to be raised in a single parent home. I never had that, right? Because I've always had both of my parents who are educated people. I've always had the privilege of traveling in the summer. That's what I did for the other students to make sure that they have the same kind of privilege to travel and go. And now they are in a privileged situation working on Broadway and all that. That's the same kind of thing that we have to do with racism in America. We can't be silent. I wasn't silent in my privileged situation. You can't help that you are who you are, you know? And in America, a person that looks like you and other folks are considered in a privileged situation. So you are in a situation to speak out on certain things and to ensure that to not be silent is saying that I am not consenting to this craziness around racism, right? And
Yes.
so the same thing that we each have to do, when everyone does what and work in the capacity of the privilege and help each other,
Hmm.
that's when we start to see change at the grassroots level, right?
Yes.
So I'm not asking someone to do that what I have not done, right?
Right. Right. You are walking that talk,
Exactly.
Dr. Alex Harris. That is for sure. I really identify with that, and I've been able to say that in writing the book about mental health recently. I grew up in love. My parents are still married over 50 years. So I realized that although I suffered from my own problems as a young adult, that when I came back into life, as I like to call it, I had the privilege of love and comfort and a home to go to. So it has become my duty now to say I don't understand exactly what that's like, but
Right.
I'm not going to not do something about it because I have empathy, which is such a huge piece. Like we have to be more empathetic, more compassionate. And there was a very, purposeful reason for me seeking you out today. Not just because, you are my friend and you're black. I could have called my other,
Bye.
but you are. I actually just called you because I know you can sing.
Happen to
You,
be what?
yeah, and you could sing actually better than my other friends. Um, that was big for me because music is healing, as we both know. But it really is. It does become. Um, it is a privilege. I realize to not only be a white woman, but to also grow up in a family of love. That is a privilege.
That is privilege as well. That
That is
you're
a privilege.
and
Yes.
and you're using your platform to say just to bring attention to this, and you're saying, okay, how can I participate? You saw my post. You just didn't shake your head and put a emoji teardrop on there. You said, you know what? I want to have Alex to come and speak to my audience. Uh,
Mhm. Well, I want to be totally transparent because I believe that this is an opportunity for other people that feel like me.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I did. I put a sad emoji on first, Alex. And then I started to type. And then I froze. And then what happened was I started thinking about Glennon Doyle's new book, Untamed, that like everybody has read. That's a woman, especially a woman in business, and especially a woman that doesn't walk away from speaking out. And she started to speak out about, how racism is, it's ridiculous at this age, all of this stuff. And she started to really get a lot of backlash, right? And so, and it wasn't why I stopped myself. I just knew that I have to become more educated myself, if I'm going to, because I don't believe I fall into that category of being spiritually sick, Alex, which is what I think you've spoken about with a lot of people that do not have that opportunity to react the way that maybe somebody could hear them. Somebody reacting very angry and maybe throwing something at a car, a police car, or
Right.
thinking that it might be the entire, you know, police force,
Right.
which we thank God for them. We both, we're
Is-
not going, right, we wouldn't know what to do without a
yeah,
police department.
I definitely support. We've had students to go to. We encourage all the field professional fields and make sure they are exposed to that, and that we have a great relationship with the police department in St. Petersburg, and a great developing one with the sheriff department here in Hillsborough County. So we definitely are not ignorant people, and we don't promote ignorance of any kind when it comes to humanity, professions, etc. We must expose ourselves, and to speak of something and never experience in a way, or speak against something and never experience it in any kind of way, is very ignorant. And I
Very,
think the problem is there's so much ignorance with people because they don't even understand, and they start to respond. First, we must listen. Second, understand, and then respond. Most of the time, we jump to the third and
yeah,
never listen, never seek to understand. And that's not an intelligent practice. So I want to encourage everyone that listens is to practice their highest level of intelligence. And that is, first listen to what is being said. Listen with your ears. Also listen with your feelings,
mm-hmm.
right? And when we learn to take a step back and not be quick to respond, my dad will always say, "How many ears do you have?" And we say, "Two." "How many mouths do you have?" "One." He said, "Listen twice as much as you talk."
Right.
And so I think that we have
Take
to
your cotton out of your ears and put it in your mouth. That's what I learned.
exactly. So I think that we must become active listeners, and
Yeah.
listening not to respond, but listen to understand.
That is
And
so true, Alex. And I'm listening. And I purposely wanted exactly what you're saying. And I wrote down eloquent. That's another reason I called Alex, because you do deliver a message in such a way that it can be heard. And I need to listen. I needed to listen to you before I could respond.
likewise, I needed to hear you and to thank you for providing this forum. And I think this is also part of the process of one, not being silent, part of the process of also healing.
Healing. That's
Um,
the other word I wrote. Healing.
there you go. And because symptoms aren't the problem.
Mhm.
And often we deal with the symptoms and never get to the problem. We deal with medications sociologically, psychologically, even often physically, that mask the problem, but it
Mhm.
never gets to the root. But when you get to the root of the cause, then you heal,
Yeah.
right? And often healing comes through an exposure. We have to expose, we have to be transparent to that which is underneath in order to move from one place in our life to the next. And I think those of us who would like to vibrate at our highest level of vibration, we must send out this frequency of healing ourselves, and then we heal the surrounding. And enough people doing that, we can then heal the world. It's
Yeah.
not so much the COVID-19 has killed in the U.S., according to the data that's reported, 100,000 people, but it's way more people who are dying from hatred and evil,
Mm.
and it's called a slow death, because we are ill inwardly, and we are hurting others outwardly.
Yeah.
And when we heal inwardly, then we can you know. So what we should also, in addition to taking precaution around sanitizing our hands, still dealing with the outside, right? Washing our hands and getting all the Lysol and whatever else we want to, cleaning appliances. We need to take an internal, introspective engagement with ourselves, right? We need to engage the inner thought process, our behaviors, and purify that just as we are washing our hand. And I want to say this, when we're washing our hand, I want this to be a reminder that I want my inside to be just as clean and sanitized, my thoughts just as sanitized, my behaviors just as sanitized with my fellow brother, colleague, sister, family members, etc., and heal, cleanse yourselves, that we are able to live a very healthy, vibrant life, alone and with others, right?
Yes. So we are all going to have an internal car wash
Exactly.
today. Okay?
Today.
And I am proud to say that although I could not be whiter, a lot of my very dear friends have given me the great compliment of saying I am not only Black inside, but I'm also Boricua. I have a little Indian in me. I got all these cultures flowing through me because I have been opened up by spirit and allowed so much healing to happen by going through all of the pain instead of around it. And that is how we heal. You are exactly right.
Are ignoring it. You must, as you said, you must feel the pain of those who look different. You must feel the joy. You must feel everything. We must seek to feel each other. And even even in the Black community, I understand where you may have come from because your experience may not have been like mine, right? So when we seek to understand each other, then we can coexist in a healthy relationship with each other.
That St. Teresa knew what she was talking about, Alex.
Yes.
You know? She really did. She really, that's why, I think that's why that's my confirmation name. So we have a special treat for everybody. And I am not going to do my wrap up, what I would normally do. And I have called Alex out at a coffee shop before to just start singing. I gave him a little prep this time, not that I needed to. But Alex is going to end this show today with a song that I hope touches you as much as it touched me when he told me about it. And thank you for joining us. Thank you, Dr. Alex Harris, for being here. Give my love to your beautiful wife, Emily, and all your fabulous brothers that I love. I haven't met all of them because there's so many. But thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate you more than you know. And take it away, Alex.
It's been a while since I've played this song, but I'm going to try to do it. Color is color, and heart is the same. What is the difference? We're all made the same. Love spoken simple, and power to change and heal the broken heart. Heal a world that's disease and pain. What if we saw each other through the lenses of love? Would it make a difference where we come from? We are nothing but skin, blood, and bone, looking for a place to call our home. I'm telling you, I'm only human. You're only human. We are made of one faith, made of when you cry, You know I cry. When you laugh, you know I laugh. 'Cause we are nothing but the same. We are nothing. We are all the same. Oh, I know. What if we saw each other through the lenses of love? Would it make a difference where we come from? Oh, no, no, no. We are nothing but skin, blood, and bone. We're looking for a place to call our home. I know, yeah, I'm only human. You're only human. We are one, but that's a different face. And when you smile, you know I smile. And when you laugh, you know I laugh. Human, I'm only human. You're only human. We are the same.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
So don't forget, if you mention that you have seen the show or listened to the podcast, Thai Technology, 3 months for free.